Conducting spring call counts for quail is a pretty simple operation, and it doesn't require an awful lot of equipment, but it does yield some very useful information. Basically, we're trying to assess what the potential breeding stock is at the beginning of the season, and this is going to be critically important in determining how many new quail are going to be added to the population in any given year. As far as equipment, it's very simple. Basically, you'll need a clipboard. We like to have a call plot diagram for each listening stop, and then normally a summary sheet that goes with those, so that each time you conduct a count you are able to summarize all of the different stops onto a single piece of paper. You'll need a pencil, of course, to record your information on your data sheet, and then either a watch with a sweep second hand, or a digital watch that you can use to keep track of the time, or what I find even handier is to go to the store and pick up a digital kitchen timer, and you set that for 5 minutes at each listening stop. Push the start button, and as long as you remember to push the start button, then 5 minutes later you'll know it's time to quit counting birds and move on. Again, we'll use the call plot diagram to make a notation each time we hear an individual bird calling. It's real handy to have a north arrow on your sheet and keep your sheet oriented in the proper direction, so point that north arrow towards north, and then we're going to estimate how far away each bird is and what direction it is from where we're standing as the bird is calling, and make a notation of that on the sheet. The utility of the calling plot diagram is it allows you to keep track of where individual birds are calling from, and if you have time, it's also nice to note down how frequently they're calling, because that helps us distinguish between birds that are already mated and those who have not. The birds that haven't mated yet tend to call more frequently and more persistently than the mated birds do. Again, you're listening for the namesake call of the bobwhite quail, if that's what you're counting, or if you happen to be in an area where you expect to hear blue quail or scaled quail, there's a different call, and hopefully we'll get you a sample of that one as well too. Okay, we like to start spring call counts at sunrise, so you'll need to be into position slightly before that time. And it's a good idea to walk a few feet away from your vehicle before you begin counting at each station, to avoid things getting covered up by the noises the vehicle typically makes as it's cooling down, little pops and clicks and creaks and whatever. It works best if you go to the exact same location year after year and be as consistent as you possibly can in doing this. We always try to conduct call counts on days with good weather. You don't want to do if it's rainy, you don't want to do if it's too windy. Sometimes even heavy fog in the morning can depress the calling activity of birds, so we try to pick fair mornings to get out there and get started. The less wind there is, the greater the range at which you probably expect to hear bobwhite quail calling. So pick a good morning, go to the same spot, spend 5 minutes listening at each station, climb in the vehicle, move on to the next location. The usefulness of doing this spring call counts in a consistent fashion over a period of years is you begin to see how bobwhite quail populations respond to changes in the weather and changes in vegetation on a particular piece of property. So if you're out there on the landscape conducting some sort of management activity, this is a really good way to figure out how the birds are responding to what you're doing on the ground. If you're getting the response you want, then keep doing what you're doing. If you're not getting the response you want, then you need to try something different.